You are about to undertake a 2-hour experience of eye-opening, mind-expanding, revealing common sense discussion for the common sense citizen. Strap yourself in, put your trays in the upright position, remove dentures and loose jewelry, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and come along for the ride. It is time for the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN 830, and our affiliates, and streaming on the TuneIn app. It's Joe time, baby.
All right, folks, good morning, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN, our affiliate stations, and of course we are live streaming on the TuneIn app, and that's real simple to do, folks. You can take us anywhere by punching WCRN into the TuneIn app, and if you don't have it, it really only takes a few seconds to download it on any of your devices, tablets, computers, phone, and stream us. And that's 24/7, all the shows here on WCRN. You can reach the studios for two-way talk and conversation at 508-871-7000 as we broadcast from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios in Westborough, Massachusetts, online at TJMShow.com. You can tell Alexa, by the way, to play WCRN. She'll do that with no questions asked whatsoever. And don't forget that our social media is Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, Parler. Parler's back on the scene. That's very true. Parler's back up there. It took some doing. They had to go outside of the country and stack servers to get it online. I don't know. I don't think you can get it from the Apple Store yet. I don't know. Maybe your listener knows what the deal is with that as well. Hey, don't forget, we also have our text line, 617-297-8388. That's 617-297-8388. In studio with me is my trusty pal over here, Teddy Goodpup, to my right, kind of napping at this point. Don't forget to check out Teddy's Facebook page at Teddy Goodpup, and that's where you'll find the candidates looking for their forever homes. That's right. Every once in a while, we will profile a four-legged furry friend looking for their very own human and their very own forever home. And we put the details on Teddy Goodpup's Facebook page with all the links over to whether it's Bay Path or Worcester Animal Rescue League or whatever various shelter that has these puppies and kitties looking for their forever home. You'll find all the details there. So far, I think it's about a half a dozen dogs and one cat has found their homes with the help of Teddy Goodpup and the Finder Forever Home for Teddy's Friends. Also in studio behind the glass, running the board, Russ. Good morning, Russ.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I am good. So you're a couple weeks out of your birthday. Do you feel old yet?
Maybe a tiny bit, not a lot, probably just enough to say so. You know how sometimes with the aches and pains, maybe of the joints or something.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but I guess that's normal when it comes to this time of life. But otherwise, I feel good.
Yeah, my dad always said when you hit 40, you're gonna feel, aches and pains and muscles you didn't even know you had. And that's very true. Very true. All right, folks. Great show lined up. We got a few things that we have to talk about, and I just got to tie some things together for you this morning. But an hour or two, usually around the third Saturday of the month, we're joined by Dr. Larry Fedawar, and we'll do that again at 7:00 this morning. Dr. Larry will join us, and we'll be talking through the course of the show this morning a little bit about China's aggression and what's going on with the Alaska summit and some embarrassment up there, especially for the United States of America, by the way. And also, the doctor does have that new show, and we'll talk about the Unholy Alliance. So that's hour two, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And, of course, our text line from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Studios is 617-297-8388. Hey, for those of you who Rush passed away now several weeks ago, and that was a blow to all of us not just in the broadcast industry, fellow talk hosts and radio people, but to just tens of millions of followers and listeners. There's a whole generation, right, that we call the Rush Baby. Well, the news broke that Dan Bongino is slated to take over not Rush's operation per se, but Westwood One, or Cumulus. They are the network company, right? So they have, when 1988, what happened was, Rush was doing his thing. They came to him and they said, hey, move. And I think it was in Sacramento, California at the time. Move to New York, and we're going to do this show and, syndicate you on, at first they thought dozens and dozens of stations. It ended up being over 600 radio stations, which is just a huge thing. And then, the rest is history, as they say, which he did from 1988 until his passing. Well, Westwood One has offered Dan Bongino the time slot, and it would be the Dan Bongino Show, but they would, again, plug him into, and I don't think it's going to be the 600 stations. They're talking probably upwards of close to 200 to start, including a big stations in markets like California, New York, of course, Dallas, that kind of thing. So Dan Bongino will be noon to 3, Rush's old time slot across the country. And Cumulus Media's Westwood One said that they will begin the new 3-hour radio program, again, noon to 3, Eastern time, that is, in that time slot occupied by Rush before. And Bongino, it's a news and opinion show, very much opinion show. And he has a great background, right? New York police officer, Secret Service. He ran for, I think it was Congress in California at some point. And he has a great way. I like to think we're not too far off in how we look at things, Dan and I, but he has awesome resources because he actually was a Secret Service agent, which means he was on President Obama's details. He has been, by the beast in Air Force One, in the Oval Office. He has friends and contacts who sees behind the curtain at this point. So anyway, Dan Bongino will be taking that time slot, and I like the idea that someone in the ilk of Rush Limbaugh will be occupying that time slot and carrying the torch. And the reason for that is, if we look back at what and how much influence Rush had from, honorary member of Congress in the 97 class from, there was one time, and for those of you long-time Rush listeners would remember this, that, and he doesn't usually ask people to call or to do things, but he took a diversion from his normal program, and there was a particular piece of legislation that was about 7 or 8 votes in the affirmative in that, beginning of the day, right, up until noon, and Rush goes on the air, and he laid it out. And the point I'm making is that when he said on his show, hey, here are a couple of numbers to the congressional switchboard, and you can find your rep or your senator, but it doesn't really matter, just as long as you call and voice where you are on this. Well, somewhere between 400 and 500,000 calls came in, shutting down. At first, the congressional switchboard was just zapped out. And there was such a call volume that it actually affected the circuits in all of D.C. And so by mid-afternoon or 2 or 3 in the afternoon, that vote that was 7 or 8 in the affirmative was probably 8 or 9 in the negative, with just one request for people to make a phone call. And the sheer volume was overwhelming. Why am I telling you this? Well, okay, wow, that's impressive. I'm telling you this because for generations, a couple generations and decades, that time slot has been very important to the nation, to conservatives, to common sense citizens, getting unfiltered information and news, not sterilized and decided by very partisan editors and program directors in various publications and outlets. And that's, prior to the internet, that was for many years the only place that you were able to get the truth in that other side of the conversation. And then, of course, the internet has changed how things does. And that's also an important thing to remember right now, because we're going to talk a little bit about that. I mean, so first of all, congratulations to Dan Bongino. Hey, good luck with that. I have been listening and watching Dan for a while now. Like his style, like I love watching him. By the way, if you ever seen him with Geraldo Rivera, right? When Geraldo and Dan are together, thank God they like each other. But boy, is that something. Almost as good as Senator Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci. If you hadn't heard about that, we'll get into that as well. But the point being that I lost my train of thought. We were all right. So Dan Bongino, congratulations, that kind of thing. Oh, the internet. This is what I wanted to point out, guys. Have you watched this teen magazine? Just offered another sacrifice at the woke altar. And we have a situation where Teen Magazine promotes this young, very intelligent, very achieved 27-year-old black female to be their editor. And she didn't even actually assume the job yet. She was just, it was announced she was going to take it. And then some members in their staff and the news and the research have this big problem because 10 years ago, when she was 17 years old, she made some posts or something on social media. Do I know what they are? No, I don't. I don't know what they are, and I don't care what they are. Because the point is, they forced her into resignation. So she got canceled. And this is where we're seeing the far left woke culture here. They're starting to eat their own, which in a lot of times that's an indication that they're winding down, that they're coming to an end, and you hope that is anyway. But my question is, when is it going to stop? And what is enough? This woman, when she was a girl, wrote something stupid. A 17-year-old. I challenge all of you to tell me that you didn't do anything stupid when you were 17 years old. I did. And fortunately for me, at 17, the internet was still being developed. Al Gore hadn't finished inventing it yet. I mean, it was, the 80s, and it was still a project, a government contract at MIT in those days. And there, thank God that every thought that went into my head when I was 17 didn't get posted and put out there in perpetuity on the net for some jamoke to find years later. All right? So she writes something stupid. Again, I don't care what it is even. I didn't even look it up. I don't care. Are you the same person today that you were at 17? Were you the same person at 27 as you were at 17? Or did you learn a few things? Did you grow? Did you evolve and develop different attitudes and opinions once you started to, learn how the world works? So my point is two things here. When are the corporations going to take up some cojones? When are they going to take a stand and say, no, look, they hired her. And this wasn't already, this had come to light, let's say, in 2019. All right. It was already out there, and this girl, this woman, she had already apologized, and from all that I can gather, very sincerely, and she actually explained herself. And then fast forward a couple years, and you've got this poor woman about to take at this point, the best job of her life. I mean, at 27, editor of a major magazine, this woman was going places, is going places as far as I'm concerned. So they already knew about it, but they hired her anywhere. And then a couple whiny rumblings from these selfish, self-centered, assuming brats, moan and groan about this, and they take a resignation. When are the corporations going to stand up and say, enough? You know what? You have a problem with her. We don't. She's apologized. We've accepted that apology. Pack your bags. Here are some boxes. Clean your desk out. Get out of here. And she can hire her own staff. That's what it's going to take because, folks, these corporations, I don't understand why they are bullied and pushed around. And we've all learned that the majority of the time, it's not great numbers. Look, at 10 people can seem like 1,000 people with social media. So the internet has changed so much, right? First of all these things we do, it's put down in perpetuity. It's there. You're getting, at least, I hope it's sinking into the younger generations of our time that not every thought that pops into when you're 17-year-old, your pea brain at that point, needs to be put out into the universe. Exercise some filter. And that's on you. But this whole cancel culture issue, and I know that the left want to frame that as just a right talking point and so forth, but what would you call it? What is cancel culture? And it's not for the good of everybody. It's people who you have to think exactly how I think and use the language exactly how I use the language. And you know who's laughing about this? Who's laughing at America besides Russia? Well, China. Right? We have the Alaska summits going on. And before I get into that, I do have to acknowledge this little President Biden, yesterday, headed into Air Force One. If you haven't seen it, folks, I'm sure it's all over the internet. It's been on, TV after TV, clip and so forth. But he trips and stumbles like 3 times. This isn't a little misstep. I got to tell you, first of all, before we get into the political aspect of this and what this means and all that, my first thought seeing that is, and even before, because when I've seen him go up those stairs other times, fine, I'm saying you got a guy almost 80 years old going up a steep flight, 3 stories to get up to the upper door of Air Force One, and the Secret Service's job is to protect that person. And the Secret Service, it doesn't matter who they are. That's the one thing about the Secret Service, folks. Politics has no place for them. Now, they all have their personal politics and all that. But when they take on and they put that Secret Service badge on, they put on that suit, they put on the earpiece, they're at work, that's their purpose, and their only purpose at that point is the protection of the body that occupies the Oval Office. Republican, Democrat, male, female, black, white, yellow, it doesn't matter. The Secret Service is rich in the tradition of protecting the President of the United States, sometimes from themselves, meaning that in the instance of a issue, a threat, doesn't matter if they're the President of the United States. If the Secret Service determines that for their safety they need to be put on Air Force One or brought to a bunker or secure location, if they have to pick that president up and let his feet dangle in the air, they'll do it. It's not the president's call anymore. So I've seen Biden and other presidents go up the stairs, and I always wondered, why isn't there an agent a couple steps behind them especially when you're talking about someone pushing 80, and even President Trump. What if they were to misstep and start to, that's a steep stairway, and as I said, it's 3 stories by the time you get to the top, and they would start to misstep and roll. That would be a horrible fall. And a fit, strong agent, a few stairs or steps behind them could be the difference between serious injury and not. But that's aside. I never understood that part of it. But he stumbled 3 times, actually, while trying to walk up the steps of Air Force One. So after I got by there, why isn't there someone behind him in case he falls? Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Biden, Trump, Obama, it didn't matter. Just seems like it would be a good idea to do it. So now it comes out. Whoa, everybody's got to examine this. And remember when Trump was walking down a ramp at West Point after a speech, and it was a wet decline, and he said to the general, "Oh, I gotta watch myself." But he's in dress shoes, right? It doesn't have a lot of traction. It's wet, and he's cautious. Oh my goodness, that was just for perspective, folks, right? Trump walking down a wet ramp at the West Point ceremony was a 4-day news cycle. 4-day news cycle. And CNN had the morning, midday, afternoon, bringing in doctors and, experts. And what does this mean? And you drank a glass of water one time and just went at it. But now the White House tells us that it was the wind. The wind did it. It was a windy day, and that's how that's what it was all about. But also remember, President Biden, he broke his foot in this past year, right? Wasn't playing with the dog or something, and he was in a boot for a while. So there's a lot of reasons this could happen. And, of course, everybody's going to think about and talk about, well, is it a symbol or rather a signal of cognitive degeneration? Because that can happen in older people. As your faculties start to deteriorate, so does your sense of balance. As a matter of fact, you can go on, watch these infomercials, right? They have this balance thing out there for anybody over 55, 6 years old, with polls and stuff. It happens. And from a guy who has walking issues myself, for those that don't know it, a balance issue, with a nerve issue and seriously messed up back, balance is a concern. And I'm always conscious about ice and snow, because if your balance has a problem, it's easier to go down. So now that was a 4-day cycle with President Trump walking down, didn't trip or anything. And Joe Biden, remember him? Quote, "Watch how I run up ramps," and he stumbles down ramps. "Okay, come on," he said. Now, he didn't stumble down the ramp. He walked cautiously, guiding with the railing. But what's funny about this is the media is this isn't going to be a 4-day news cycle. And the audacity of the press secretary of the White House to say it was the wind, it's nothing more than a misstep on the stairs, and that it's pretty windy outside. That's how they're going to cover this. I just had to address it. Everybody missteps. I honestly, this isn't to make fun of the guy or anything, but he is 78 years old, and I don't think it's the smartest thing in the world to let the guy climb 3 flights of stairs, and what it translates to, which a pretty steep incline, outside, meaning the elements are there, there's moisture, there's wind. It doesn't seem like the smartest thing to do. But I'm more concerned with the fact that, and when you compile this stumble on the fact that he has, what are we pushing 60 days without a press conference. He's never allowed to be unscripted, which brings me to something. All right, so China and the United States sit down in Alaska. We got to get into we're coming up close to a break, but I have to get in to what happened in Alaska, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for us. China came on our soil, lectured us, and this administration's representation apologized. We're going to get into these details. And then you've got Biden with his, as a matter of fact, play cut 10, Russ, if you can, because Steffi Stephanopoulos, when talking with Joe Biden, asks about Putin, and he comes out and says he's a killer, or agrees to that question. Can we play the clip from that? It's good. We don't got it on the air. I think you got it. Well, it's not. No. Hold off for it. We'll do it after the break. I'm not hearing myself. I'm not hearing myself at all, Russ. Did you take me off the air? No, it's not going out. I'm not hearing it. No, it's not. All right. I don't hear anything, Russ. So kill that. We're gonna take a. I didn't hear it. If I didn't hear it, it probably isn't on the air. So we'll get that fixed up and we'll play back. The point is that we got two things here. We got the Russia situation and we've got the China situation. And we'd be in neither one of these situations if Donald Trump was still in office. So first, we're coming up against the clock here. What do we got some time? Let's just jump to the phone real quick then. Mark in Worcester, thanks for holding on. You actually on the Russia-China issue anyway, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's
I
up?
can't believe what I see in two incredibly bad diplomatic gaffes.
Yeah.
He's been in office for 3 weeks. He screws up royally with the Russians. The U.S. diplomatic corps are going through back channels to try to assure Putin that, that's just Joe being Joe, you know what I mean? Meanwhile, Putin is threatening to recall his a diplomat from Washington, D.C. He's pissed off the Chinese envoy commission in Alaska with that idiot frat boy, Tony Blinken. They dressed him Blinken down like he was a delinquent.
Yeah.
Like it was a delinquent
100%.
Frat boy.
Mark, I got to tell you something. This whole Joe just being Joe, look at when he is just the considered the dumbest member of the Senate, that's one thing to say, oh, Joe being Joe. But when he sits in the Oval Office, when he's the president of the United States of America, oh, that's just Joe being Joe, doesn't cut it. That doesn't cut it. The guy has serious repercussions. When
he's being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos, he knows damn well it's being transmitted all over the world, and then he comes out with an incredibly stupid statement like that. What's he trying to do? Get us into a military confrontation with Russia?
Yeah,
then Tony Blinken, U.S. envoy to China, he gets up there like a frat boy, like he's going to dress them down. Yeah. They turn the tables on him. Basically, tell the U.S. envoy, listen, dude, you ain't telling us nothing.
Yeah, you got that right. But Mark, we're against the clock. You're welcome to join again later, but I have to break because it is that time here, folks, on the Joe Mangiacotti Show. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Stick with us. Back in a minute. Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and you might have picked up on the fact that I've recently moved and was taking the time to purge the clutter and freshen up some of the furniture and decor. And there is no better item to freshen up than your bed. That's right, your bed is the most important piece of furniture you have. After all, you spend more than a third of your life on it. I checked out the huge, once family-owned stores with tens of thousands of square feet of showroom and warehouses and movie theaters and food courts and shows and the overhead that goes with them. But then I discovered a true family-owned shop. John Rosenfeld and his son have a small showroom and warehouse right in Metro West, 50 Main Street, Ashland. John and his family are actually there in person. They do keep hours, but will meet you by appointment. That's right. John will meet you when it's convenient for you. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own and a power base that moved the head and feet, but then I met John and checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com and ended up with a better mattress and power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Box Drop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts and buys directly from the manufacturer with low overhead and just family employees, passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9309. That's 508-579-9309. And find John on Facebook at Boxdrop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com.
This is Sean Burke, President of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30 for case files from the LPDM or anytime at lpdmcasefiles.com.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers one-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Ed. Who's Ed?
That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoSchool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. Oh, 877 Drive Ed.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
It's time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Nothing But Cakes, White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and this week we thought we'd take a look at the Massachusetts social distancing and capacity limits. See, they require face coverings for all customers and workers at all times, except where an individual is unable to wear a face covering due to medical conditions or disability. Customers may only remove face coverings in the actual act of eating and drinking. See, the face coverings are required at all other times while seated at tables and when the waitstaff person is present at the table. While indoor table service is permitted, restaurants are encouraged to structure operations to operate as much as possible through outdoor table service and to strictly limit indoor table service in order to assure effective compliance with social distancing requirements and to limit activities within confined spaces. Now, seated table service must be limited for each party to only 90 minutes or less. Restaurants must comply with the following sector-specific social distancing rules for providing dining services in all customer seating areas. First, tables must be positioned so to maintain at least 6-foot distance from all other tables and any high-foot traffic areas, so that would be routes to the bathroom, entrances, and exits. Tables may be positioned closer if separated by protective non-porous barriers, that would be a structure wall, or plexiglass dividers, and not less than 6 feet installed between tables in high-foot traffic areas. Now, the size of the party seated at a table cannot exceed 6 persons. Customers should be encouraged to only dine with members of the same household. How they encourage that, we don't know, but they should encourage it. Bar seating is permitted, provided that there are no active work areas or working staff behind the bar for at least 6 feet. There is a physical barrier, we're back to that plexiglass, separating customers from the bar space that is at least 30 inches high. And a gap opening at the bottom of the barrier is allowed because you got to put the food and drink through that, but that gap opening cannot be more than 8 inches high. by. Subject to any applicable building and fire code requirements, bar areas may be reconfigured to accommodate table seating that complies with all spacing and other requirements in these COVID-19 safety standards. Tables must not be placed within 6 feet of the staffing bartending area, and all customers must be seated. Eat-in service to standing customers, that's around the barriers, is prohibited. And restaurants may provide carry-out or delivery service, but all safety standards for table separation, size of party, and hygiene must be maintained for any indoor-outdoor table seating that is available to carry out patrons. Restaurants should stagger work schedules and staff meal and break times, regulating maximum number of people in one place and ensuring at least 6 feet of physical distance. All these regulations and guidelines can be found on this post at outwithjoe.com. It contains what I just shared with you, as well as a few more, so it's worth taking a read and using as a reference before it headed out to dine here in the Commonwealth. We have suspended the Music Minute for the time being for obvious reasons, but follow us on our social media platforms at Out with Joe. Out with Joe has been brought to you by Nothing Bun Cakes in White City Plaza, Shrewsbury, on Facebook at Nothing Bun Cakes Shrewsbury. Have you heard of the hottest new bakery around? I know you heard about it right here. My friend Al has opened Nothing Bundt Cake in the White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. Nothing Bundt Cake is a bakery chain and is locally owned and operated by my friend Al. They have bundt cakes ranging from bite-sized to tiered, plus platters, candles, and cards. For any occasion, function, or just to have around the house or office, stop by and check them out. Everything is baked from scratch and on site. Nothing beats a sweet surprise. And until you try one of Al's bundt cakes, you haven't tried a real bundt cake. Stop by and ask for Al. Tell him Joe told you to stop by. 98 Boston Turnpike, White City Plaza, near Planet Fitness, Shrewsbury, and on Facebook as well, Nothing Bundt Cake Shrewsbury.
To join the conversation, call 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Now, here's your host, Joe Mangiacotti.
All right, folks. Very good. Welcome back to the second half of the first hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Mattress, Middlesex Mattress, I should say. Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. That's right. Don't forget to check that out. John has a showroom down on 50 Main Street in Ashland, and I'm telling you, unbelievable prices, right? Not only John will meet you by appointment, right? He doesn't keep it open all hours. This is how he can deliver top quality mattresses. He buys them from the discounters. He buys the closeouts. They're wonderful. I did it. I was going to spend over 2 times what I ended up spending at Middlesex Drop Box Mattress, because he keeps the overhead very low. You see it reflected in the prices every day. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. All right, folks, so we started to get into on Mark's call, and obviously this is where I got to talk about this today, because we have this China and American summit in Alaska. Now, any of you that listen to this show on a regular basis, you know where I stand on this. I have been telling you that we have got to watch China. Russia's not. That they're an issue, but nothing compared to China. China has been on a very long-term plan to supersede the United States as a world power, to actually become a world power, which is funny, right? Because the irony is, if you look at the Paris Climate Accord in other forums throughout the world, China is classified as an emerging market, that they're an emerging country, that they have all these breaks in the Paris Accord climate, while they are opening coal burning factories and energy plants like Starbucks opens up chains, right? But they're not going to be held to the same guidelines as the United States of America. So now you've got to remember that in the 4 years of Donald Trump, China was checked. And Trump knew how to deal with China. He dealt with them as a businessman, and he dealt with them economically, and he knew how to push their buttons, and he knew how to get what he wanted. China did not want to have to go back into a negotiation with President Trump behind the scenes. Now you've got a Biden administration, which China's had Biden and Hunter bought and paid for years. Remember what Biden had to say as VP, as senator? So these first face-to-face talks between his administration in Beijing really got off to a testy start. Right? We came in there thinking that we're still in the same position we were under a Trump administration. And Anthony Blinken, he goes in there up against the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and other officials like Ying Shanqi in Anchorage. And here they are. They are looking at the United States. And I'm tying this back to why I was talking about the teen magazine and the woke culture. They're looking at all of this cancel culture. They actually even brought BLM up in these negotiations. Basically, China says, you're not going to assault us in basic values. We don't see conflict, but we welcome stiff competition. And they bring up slavery and BLM and all the diversion going on within this country. They say, we believe that it is important for the United States to change its own image and stop advancing its own democracy in the rest of the world. Now, Blinken and the representatives of the United States of America, instead of coming right back at them about the Uyghurs and the millions of people that they have killed or disappeared, their mess up with the Wuhan virus and lying and covering it up, they put travel restrictions on immediately within China, but anybody could leave Wuhan to go to other parts of the world. And I told you this last year, and I'm telling you this again. When China knew what was going on, they were going to do everything they can to mitigate the economic damage within their country, but was going to bring the rest of the country with them. They were definitely going to make sure we felt it economically. Which is why they lied about what they knew about its origin, what they knew about its transmission, and why they knowingly let positive COVID people leave China. Absolutely. Blinken, in his open remarks, said the Biden administration is united with its allies in pushing back against China's increasing authoritarianism and assertiveness at home and abroad. Again, I have been warning you, we have got to watch China. Well, we are wrapped up with our riots and tearing down our statues and erasing our history and getting people canceled out of their jobs and put on lists. They're laughing at the United States while they are pushing the boundaries in all directions, acquiring land. They're building islands in violation of treaties and international law. Hong Kong, Singapore, and now, and I've told you this, Taiwan is in the crosshairs. I have a little bit of an insight into some of the attitudes and feelings. For those that don't know, I'm married to a Taiwanese national. Family is still there. And believe me, do not refer to a Taiwanese as Chinese. They don't like that. And they consider themselves very independent of China, but China does not. In the autonomy that Hong Kong was supposed to maintain after the return from British rule has quickly been eroded. And China will not be happy until both Hong Kong and Taiwan are under the same police state and authoritarian government as the rest of China is. And they went in there with attitude. And we apologized. We apologized for our slavery. Why do we do this? We are the first country, and nobody talks about this, folks. We actually had a civil war where hundreds of thousands of our own citizens killed each other to eradicate it, to eliminate slavery in this country. The first country, only country to do that. Are we perfect? Hell no, we're not perfect. But to allow them to come on our soil and lecture us about civil rights. Look, they, in their minds, they've already surpassed the United States. And they won't be happy until the whole world is under New World Order that they control. Little things that don't get a lot of attention. The uptick and increase in the amount of military spending this past year. Through the roof. They are getting ready. And the question is, for what? 508-871-7000. Before I continue on with what I have to say, let's jump to the phones. People have been holding. Mark in Worcester, you're on the China issue?
Yeah, I got caught up when you said I was welcome to come back.
Yeah, you were. So we were against the clock. Go ahead, Mark. So
Yes.
So Blinken got his butt handed to him. It was embarrassing
That's
to
right.
watch what happened up there. They went after us about the stupidity going on in this country. Nobody came back at China to talk to them about the Uyghurs, about their aggressive advancement, about their oppressive or authoritarian government. None of that. We sat there with our eyes down, acting, oh, we're sorry. Are you kidding me? Do you think if President Trump was still in office that summit meeting would have gone anywhere near the same?
Absolutely not. And I'll end with this. I'm surprised that the envoy with Tony Blinken, a.k.a. Rodney Dangerfield, I'm surprised that he didn't say to him, listen, dude, we own your debt, your bad debt in the form of T-bills. We own Hollywood, and we own much of your mainstream media through third-party infusions of cash. So you're not in a position to tell us anything. And that's basically what he said to Blinken. And Blinken was Blinken looking around the room, said, what the hell's going on here? He was actually looking around the room. He didn't know what to do.
It was surreal. He couldn't believe it. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Have a good one, brother.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Look, this whole problem, right? We have Joe Biden. Remember Tim telling us that they're good people in their emerging country? Are you kidding me? The arrogance. The Chinese delegation seems to have arrived intent on grandstanding focused on public theatrics and dramatics over substance. That's what the spin is on this. Chinese, right? So the United States were criticizing Chinese side for violating an agreed upon 2-minute time limit for opening statements. And Yang ended up speaking for 15 minutes. To make significant concessions to America would undermine the appearance of national strength and threatens Xi's hold on power. Bottom line is, what was their message when they went to Alaska? The East is rising and the West is declining. This has been their feeling for a long time. This is what China has been doing for decades. I tell you this, and please understand, unlike America, who thinks in terms of quarters, the next fiscal quarter, what did the stock market do today? Oh my God, you said something I don't like. We're going to go after you on Twitter and get you fired, and we're going to make a list. No, China just laughs at us as their plan unfolds. So not only financially are we indebted to them, they've upped their military budget to not just be on par with the United States, but to surpass the United States. And they have made inroads into Hollywood, and more importantly, into the academic arena. They are, look what happened in this professor here in Massachusetts over Harvard that got arrested and charged, right? That didn't get a lot of attention here. That he was behind and responsible for designing, building, and contributing to the Wuhan lab and being paid a lot of money that he was not disclosing to the school or even to Uncle Sam at one point. So, and Trump knew this, and he dealt with them, and he put the financial screws to them with embargoes that he got criticized for. But billions of dollars came in that wouldn't have come in from China if it wasn't for that. And China was not going to get away with a fraction of what they're getting away with now and what they intend to get away with. And we all know that behind it all, they have Biden on the ropes. They own him. You don't think that they could orchestrate the release of the information of the deals and the money that went to the Biden family and under what terms and conditions that was set forth? You don't think that they have a lot on Hunter? I know the media in the DOJ, right? The whole Hunter thing is the most hush-up conversation inside the Beltway, by the way. Nobody has sources that will talk. And now with Durham's investigation, what's going to happen when he's ready to go? Because he got somebody to flip. That's the question, right? That's the scuttlebutt. Everybody's trying to figure out who. But Durham has a key person, someone on the 7th floor from the FBI who's decided to flip and tell everything. But is it going to go anywhere under a Biden administration, or is the DOJ going to shut that right down? 508-871-7000. I'm going to go to the phones. We're going to take a detour here for a moment from China and America situation. Still got to talk about China, but I know, Ken, you wanted to jump on it because of the Atlanta murders down in Atlanta. And I was going to get to this, and let me just set this up. When this all broke, and all of a sudden the narrative is anti-Asian and that Asians are being picked on, I have to tell you, I'm like, where is this coming from? Again, I don't want to keep going to the well, but being married to an Asian Taiwanese national, we've never experienced anything of that nature, anything like that whatsoever. And what we have going on here is, again, right, the left. Never let a crisis go to waste. The fact that the majority of the people who were shot and murdered in cold blood happened to be Asian. Just happened to be. It was he targeted a massage parlor because of this sex addiction issue, which is another conversation. This is happenstance, people. But the left always have to find some way to make it about race and to put everything into a pigeonhole here. And all of a sudden, now we have this big anti-Asian problem in the United States that 20 minutes before wasn't an issue in the United States. Now it's an issue, and they're trying to make something there. Sometimes, Freud said it, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And in this case, I'm sorry, folks, it's happenstance. It's happenstance. It was a massage parlor owned and operated by Asians. If it was a Greek pizza parlor and 6 of the victims were Greek, do we have an anti-Greek issue in the United States? Do you see what I'm saying? They have to find a race issue where there isn't a race issue at all? And what about the Latino gentleman and his daughter who just happened to be walking by? It has nothing to do with race. That being said, Ken, what's your take on it? What are you calling on?
Well, you basically stated it, but let me kind of simplify it. If I were a reporter, how I would cast it. In an apparent sequence of multiple sex crimes, 6 women and 2 men were killed at 3 Atlanta area massage parlors. The alleged culprit, captured by police, has confessed to a addiction to pornography. That's the story. Mm-hmm. And literally, you can actually get that story online, followed by experts say, in a link to the distortion that you've described. Who the heck makes an expert who totally distorts facts? They're not experts. They're liars.
Yeah.
Perpetrating false propaganda.
We're going to fit a round peg in a square hole right now. We're going to take our racist stick and we're going to wave it over the situation, and all of a sudden we're going to manufacture another race issue in the United States. That there's this big motion going on anti-Asian because, and of course, Ken, what do? They tie it back to Trump, because Trump referred to COVID-19 as the China virus or the Wuhan virus, and for that alone, all those smelly Walmart Trump supporters are going around shooting up Asians wherever they see them. It's the most absurd thing. Well, is it? I mean, wait a minute, because the left's going to come out with something just as absurd in about 20 minutes from now.
And you even had in Massachusetts protests going on yesterday. What appeared to be groups of like soccer moms who were outraged. It's like these people aren't lacking intelligence.
Exactly. And what are they outraged? Are they outraged on the Asian? How about being outraged at the pornography? Maybe. How about focus on what the issue is? This kid confessed to having a sex addiction and pornography. All right, that's the issue here, folks. But yeah, all of that sex and violence is okay where? In Hollywood. That's never a problem with Hollywood, right. Ken.
He was probably watching Cardi B too much on the Grammys.
Yeah. My goodness, did you see that? I didn't see that. I saw the clips of it. I mean, really, was that a pay-per-view on an X channel thing? I mean, that was just disgusting. But we're like 20 seconds away from the top, Ken, so I have to let you go. You're welcome to call back in the next hour if you want to contribute again. But Dr. Larry Fedawar is going to join us after the 7 o'clock point here in the Joe Mangiacotti Show. So stick with us, and we'll continue, of course, from the Boxstrap Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios, 508-871-7000. I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
7 o'clock.
Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti from the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, talk radio is the immune system to the partisan, bias, political rhetoric attacking us on a daily basis. Get inoculated. The Joe Mangiacotti Show is your vaccine. Join me weekend mornings, 6 to 8.
If you were to ask any retiree in a word, they would tell you that retirement is all about income. Income in retirement is a permission slip to enjoy life. Income provides the freedom to spend money each month, knowing that more will arrive next month and the month after that. As important as it is to accumulate assets for your retirement, it's equally, if not more important, to maximize the income being generated from your assets. My name is Jerry Doherty, and my radio program, Making Money Last, has been heard right here on WCRN. Well, do you know if your retirement income is as high as it could be? Are you living off less than you should be? Well, I'd like to offer you a complimentary review to answer that very question. Simply call my office at 877-772-1776. I'm conveniently located right on Route 9 in Westboro. Again, my number's 877-772-1776. Let's increase your income today.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years, with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN and our affiliates from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. And don't forget, our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. By the way, if you don't have the ability to text, but you're by device, if you email Text Joe on the Radio, see how that's named exactly what you do, Russ? Pretty cool, right? I like things named exactly where they are, like SquarePants, SpongeBob. You know what you're dealing with. So text Joe on the Radio at gmail.com. It appears on the same screen, so you can contribute and kind of get into the show without having to call. Funny how in this business, less than 1/2% of people who listen to talk radio ever call talk radio. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, again, from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. And as promised, for hour 2, and it is the third Saturday of the month, and we pretty much stick to it usually, Dr. Larry Fedor joins us. Hey, Dr. Larry, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to hear from you. How are you?
Well, I'm just fine.
All
We
right.
have a nice clear day here in Washington for a change.
How are the horses?
We've been having trouble with horses. We've got a sick horse, and it's been in fact it's the second one now this winter. So, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
generally speaking, they're like any pet. They're worth the trouble.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. That's I'm sorry to hear that. That's bad. That's too bad. Folks, we're talking to Dr. Larry Fedor, and you can find Dr. Larry at Dr. Larry Online, and check that out. It is political commentary, and the weekly show you were doing it has faded away, but this Unholy Alliance, now you're doing with Tom, right? You and Tom are doing that on Wednesdays?
Well, we call the program the Resistance Hour.
Oh, that's it, Resistance Hour.
And the subject this week was this Unholy Alliance. Yes.
All right. let's talk about that first, because I do want to get into a little bit of China, but also the Russian situation, because we had Stephanopoulos talking to President Biden. And again, we only see President Biden, still sends a little chill when I say that, in a very controlled, very scripted situations. We're pushing 60 days without a press conference. We're seeing him always in controlled conditions. Even that online thing they were doing, and he turns to Speaker Pelosi and asks if it's okay to take questions. Clearly it wasn't, because it goes to the tone in the White House logo. Apparently that wasn't in the script, right? They don't want him going off anywhere. They don't like it. They don't know what he's going to say. He kind of goes off on these strings, and he's very quick to anger. You remember during the campaign, how many people did he challenge to step outside, including that iron worker, or was it an auto worker, who was on his side, Dr. Larry? The guy was a Democrat on his side, and he just loses his cool with this, and then he refers to Kamala Harris as President Harris. Doesn't correct it. Nobody says anything. So was that a Freudian slip, or,
Yeah, that tells you who's calling the shots, huh?
Oh, exactly. Just prior to you coming on at the end of hour one, myself and a caller, we were talking about the Atlanta murders, and it was interesting. Kamala Harris comes up and gave what should have been Joe Biden doing it, but they're trying to. This all of a sudden, Doctor, we have this huge race issue with Asians now. And as I was saying, I happen to be married to a Taiwanese national, and we've experienced nothing like that. We didn't know this was an issue, but the left does just. It seems that they can't let any opportunity go to waste, right? They don't let a good crisis go to waste, and now they've got to wave their ultra-left woke wand over any situation and create a race issue where there isn't a race issue. It's a happenstance. The majority of the people murdered by this deranged person happen to be Asian, because it was an Asian-owned and operated business that he had a problem with, not their race. Are we seeing the left trying to create another race issue in the United States? Because that's just keeps us occupied, keeps us divided, and certainly helps both China and Russia when our infighting is occupying our news cycles and all of our energy.
Well, we're living in an era now where they talk about diversity, and they define it by the color of somebody's skin and their ethnic background. And this is extremely significant, because we've always had as a goal and an ideal that we are a melting pot in which anybody from any background, if they're willing to accept the responsibilities of being an American, should be accepted. Mm-hmm. We haven't always lived up to that, but that's certainly been our goal. And now this is changing the goalpost. This is like, this is a different game now, and it's very, very destructive.
I agree. Very, very destructive. I mean, now we have the argument now being forced. As a matter of fact, I think it was on Tucker, an inconvenient minority from Kenny Zhu. He had Kenny Zhu on, and it happens at his, happenstance, good timing for his book. We have Harvard is one of the places that actually got busted for anti-Asian discrimination, because they were not admitting Asian students for being Asian. I mean, which is the ultimate definition of racism, right? And they got busted doing that. And there seems to be in the academic world this bias against Asians because, and this is really the stupid part of this, Doctor, because they work hard, they study, and they test well, and they try to spin Asians as test-taking robots, I think is the term that was used in Kenny's book. And to me, I'm like, first of all, you have a problem because someone works hard, studies hard, tests well, and they bought in, and I don't mean to be derogatory by saying they, but I'm saying that the Asians who come to America are to study and to work hard and achieve something have bought into the American dream, have bought into the premise that we have put out there for generations and generations, and that is the sky's the limit here, that you can achieve anything you want. And they're coming from places where that can't happen, where a lot of your life is preordained. It's determined for you. And they are told here in America, if you work hard and you do a good job, you can rise in the highest possible offices in politics. You can rise to the CEO corporate boardroom, or you can invent something and become a gazillionaire. In other words, they bought into the American dream. And then when they come here to do that, we have the academic world punishing them for that.
Well, not only have they, is it newcomers, it's also Americans that have been here for generations. But I think one of the things that's starting to happen is a little bit like what happened in the Second World War when, and really to a lesser extent, even in the First World War, and that is when we were fighting the Germans, there was a very strong current of anti-German American prejudice that began to operate. And then when we went to war with the Japanese, we actually took Japanese Americans and put them in concentration camps. So, you know, there is a tendency to kind of get a prejudice and more than just a prejudice, an active hostility toward people who look like the current enemies of the United States. And I think as we see more and more of concern about China's rivalry for the world, the greatest power in the world against us, that people are beginning to associate them with Chinese Americans. I'm quite close to the Committee of 100, which is a association of Chinese American Chinese or Chinese Americans who are trying to establish a connection and an mutual understanding between Americans and the Chinese. And the danger signal to them has escalated by about 300% in the last couple of years, well, that year, as China has become more and more aggressive. So we've got that's another little problem that we also have to talk about.
Yeah. First of all, you look at this going on, and then when we have actual Chinese spies, like remember Feng Feng, right? We've got Swalwell, who's sitting on committees that, quite frankly, and this was brought. I'm sorry, folks, if it was I don't know. There was one of the congressmen, and I'm sorry it's escaping me. Actually, did a resolution to remove Swalwell from the Foreign Relations Committee. I mean, this is a guy who couldn't get a security clearance in the private sector, but he's on committees that he has no place on being after he had a Chinese spy he dated, right, and presumably had intimate relations with this woman as she placed interns in his office, bundled donations for him. Where do you think that was coming from? I mean, and you got Nancy Pelosi keeping him on. I mean, if this was a Republican who had that kind of an intimate relationship with a foreign agent, what would be going on? They'd be threatening to jail him at this point if it was the other way around. But Feng Feng, apparently, she's disappeared. I mean, she was obviously recalled, brought back to get out of the United States.
Yeah, the other factor is that at the same time when he was being appointed by Pelosi to the Foreign Relations Committee, her husband, Pelosi's husband, was concluded a major deal with the Chinese that was worth millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. And before that, Nancy Pelosi had always been quite suspicious of the Chinese, and she suddenly had a 180-degree reversal.
Funny what a few $100 million can do for your attitude.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy amazing. And again, that goes back to Joe Biden trying to tell us that, China, they're not that bad. They're an emerging country. I mean, their exemptions with the Paris Climate Accord thing, right? I mean, they are opening coal burning plants like a franchise opens its coffee shops here. It's ridiculous.
Like one a week.
Yeah, and then they're talking about some down the line 2050 and all this stuff, and they have all these exemptions and money. I mean, whether we're talking about the Paris Climate Accord, Doctor, or WHO, right? World Health Organization, their input what was $48 million versus United States $450 million, and they are controlling the director of WHO. They are dictating what they say. When we know this because we look at the Wuhan virus, we look at World Health Organization's posting and what they had put up there, and how even have what they kept up on the site about the transmission and the danger and so forth. And none of that was even discussed here or come back at them in Alaska on this. I mean, they came in there and they just browbeat Blinken down. And, I mean, we're apologizing for racism. Even in China brings up BLM and all of the other distractions going on in this country, and they're telling us this is how it's going to be, right? They said it straight out. The West is on the decline and East is on the uprise, and this is just all part of their decades and decades, right? China thinks in terms of in long term. Let's just put it this way. I'll simplify it. They think in very long term. Everything to do. Whereas here in America, right, why don't we think by the quarter, right? What's the next fiscal quarter? What did the market do today? Who said what on social media today? We're just it's like we're like children, and they're the adults in the room, thinking long term, taking care of everything. And their goal is to have a one world order in China at the apex.
They don't make any secret about it.
No, that's the fun. That's the the point is, right? They don't make any secret about it. They've been telling us what they're going to do, and our arrogance doesn't just doesn't allow us to buy into it.
Yeah, it's more than that, though. I think we have to realize that the Bidens are very, very closely related to the Chinese through mutual support, financial support, just as are the Pelosi's.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people now that are running our government. And it's not so surprising that they talked about Trump as being a Russian agent. There was never a scintilla of evidence about that. But there's all kinds of evidence saying that the Bidens are basically Chinese spies, or certainly very close.
right,
Yeah.
Dr. Larry? They call this in the intelligence community useful idiots. And as far as I think Chinese concerned, is they've got Joe Biden, and we learned this from Swalwell in some of the dialogue that surrounded that is, and if you go back to remember the video, it got taken down, but it was a high official in CCP and bragging about how China has cultivated politicians early and now they're in high places. Well, he didn't mention the names in that video, but I mean, obviously they were looked at Swalwell and probably didn't realize, that we weren't dealing with the smartest guy in the room. But they looked at this young guy, and he took him from a city councilor to a congressman, and they, again, it's all long term. So they are going after younger politicians that to them it's an investment, right? Whatever it takes to bundle that money and get the donations, and they're smart. Don't underestimate how smart the Chinese are, and they're intelligence agencies. And it doesn't matter if they have to invest millions of dollars over the years to get a friendly UI into powers of positions like the Foreign Relations Committee or the presidency of the United States.
Yeah, the presidency of the United States.
Yeah, that's they did it. I mean, and this is the problem, and you can't convince me that the Bidens, Joe particularly, is so indebted to and relying on the revenue stream coming from China. And this is why the Hunter Biden story, the laptop, and what was on that, this is, from everybody I can talk to, the most hands-off conversation inside the Beltway is the Hunter Biden story. There's no leaks. Nobody's talking. I mean, there's been a serious iron curtain put around that story on the political circles of D.C. People are not talking about it. Usually every story, Doctor, has leaks, right? Somebody talks somewhere. They are shutting this down, which makes me wonder, how damaging is the information on that laptop? And what happened to the repair guy's shop? All of a sudden, he's disappeared from the news.
Yeah, well, he was already complaining about being all these intimidating threats that he was getting.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably either decided to get up or get out. But I'm unfortunately begun to believe that we do not have any doubt about the fact that the Bidens are very, very indebted to the Chinese, to the point that if the truth were really accepted, I think it's known, it's just not accepted, that he would be convicted of treason. I mean, that's a bad thing to say about your president, but frankly, all the things that they were talking about, they were accusing Trump of doing, which he didn't do.
Right.
I think that this guy, he is doing it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. As it usually is, right? Whatever the left seems to be accusing whoever of is exactly what is happening. And it's funny. I mean, in years of being a private investigator and having an agency, the first thing, whenever a spouse would contact the office, doctor, to tell us, I think my wife might be cheating or my husband might be cheating, it only took a few cases to realize is that chances are better than not that the spouse that is talking to you is projecting what they're doing onto their spouse, and in fact, they're the ones who are practicing infidelity. And they're projecting and they figure, if I can do it, she can do it. If I can do it, he can do it. And that was so often the case. And we see that the left is doing this, and when we look back at Trump and the whole Russian collusion hoax thing going on, everything that they accused Trump of, we then discovered through a lot of money and pain and patience that everything they had been doing. They had the Russian agents. They were working with the Russian agents. They were paying for this information. And then the irony of all this, we find out that the original issue or, collusion was just Hillary saying, well, we need just a little distraction to get off my emails. But that little lie and hoax that they put together in paying, through, the consulting firm and all that the Steele dossier, it took on, the media did their job too well, right? They took it on, it got legs, and they ran with lie after lie. And, of course, the irony of all this, folks, is here it goes. The government agency, right, the corrupt agent, leaks some information to a publication who then publishes the story because they confirmed it from an official source in the government. Then the government turns around and goes for the FISA court, and they reference the story in the publication that got planted by them in the first place as a corroborating source. Isn't that? It's nuts. It's nuts. So here's this cycle. They leak it. It gets printed. They refer to these stories that are all fictitious to begin with their information that they leaked in the first place, and that's how they get a FISA, which then elevates the investigation. And now they leak out that there's an investigation, which to the average citizen out there, whether they realize it or not, gives this sense of credibility to the story that was made up in the first place. And that's what we saw happen. And it's all a lie. It was all a lie. And they practiced everything that they were projecting onto Donald Trump as doing. And now we're seeing the same thing happen with China in this situation. And I would, Durham, step down as the U.S. attorney, but that was normal, right? New administration, that happens, that goes on. But what's going to happen? And I said it before you come on. Apparently from sources and everything that I can find out, that somewhere Durham does have somebody who flipped in that case, by the way. Somebody from the 7th floor. Nobody knows who it is, but that's all you need is one person high enough up with enough knowledge about it, and the dominoes will all come into place. But, Doctor, will it get shut down under Joe Biden Department of Justice?
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
I think if anything, it will be. They've already shown that they wanted to, and they wanted Trump even after he was out of office. They impeached him. They tried to. Well, they impeached him. He just didn't get convicted. But they're not going to. They are not going to stop. I'm
talking about Biden. Will they go after Biden? Durham's report.
No, they're not going to go after Biden. No. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
They're going to keep on going after Trump and the Republicans.
You got that right. Hey, we got a break, Doctor, because it's the bottom of the hour. Stick with us here, folks. We're going to continue with Dr. Larry Fedawar here in the Joe Mangiacotti Show. But you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Stick with us. I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is Find a Forever Home for Teddy's Friends, brought to you by the Cantiani Insurance Group with locations at 318 Plantation Street and East Douglas Insurance. This week's candidate comes to us from Buddy Dog in Sudbury. You should get to know Scooby. He is a handsome young goofball from South Carolina. He loves everyone he meets, humans and pups alike. He does like to play hard, so roommates of any species will need to be sturdy and confident enough to handle him. So a large fenced-in yard would be a pretty good thing for a Scooby. He would not do well in a small home or apartment. He's a 2-year-old neutered male, unknown breed mix, about 70 pounds but a healthy weight. He was was found as a stray in South Carolina. He is food motivated and he does know sit, so training will be pretty easy and some basic obedience training is recommended. Again, Scooby comes to us from Buddy Dog in Sudbury. For more on Scooby, check out Teddy Goodpup's Facebook page for links and pictures and, of course, information how to visit and maybe even adopt Scooby and bring him home to his new forever home. Find a Forever Home is brought to you by Cantiani Insurance Group with locations at 318 Plantation Street and East Douglas Insurance and anytime at 508-791-2088. Good morning and welcome to Handling Change from the Box Drop Mattress Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and this week we're going to take a look at some tips for springtime on Handling Change. These are great tips that help you handle the challenges and the changes in your life. So some tips to get your home ready for spring. Well, maintaining a healthy home goes beyond dusting and vacuuming. When is the last time you checked your smoke alarms? How about the last time you cleaned out your dryer vent? Follow some of these tips to make sure that your family and home are ready for a happy and clean spring season. First of all, clean the gutters. Grab a ladder and check the gutters for debris. Remove as much as you can with your hands and don't forget to use gloves. Remove any leftover gunk with the garden hose and take off the nozzle and have a helper turn on the water when you're ready and shove the hose into the downspout to power out the gooseneck bends. Make sure the downspouts channel water at least 5 feet from the foundation walls. Then go back into the house and scrub the walls, baseboards, and outlets. The bathroom, the kitchen, the bedrooms, the living areas with a sponge and brush and mild soap and water. This includes baseboards and the outlets, but make sure you completely dry those outlet covers before replacing them. Then replace the filters, including water, range hood, air vent filters. You should replace these filters every 3 to 6 months, depending on the type of filter you have. Then clean faucets and shower heads. That's right. Unscrew the faucet, sink sprayers, and shower heads. Soak them in equal parts vinegar and water solution. Let them soak for an hour, then rinse them with warm water. This will help clear out the calcium and make the water flow better. And please clean out the dryer vent. A clogged dryer vent can be a fire hazard. To clean it, disconnect the vent from the back of the machine and use a dryer vent brush to remove the lint. Outside your house, remove the dryer vent cover and use the brush to remove lint from the other end of the vent. Make sure the vent cover flap moves freely. Then wash exterior windows. Here, I'd suggest you hire a window cleaning service to clean all exterior windows. And then you want to keep allergens away. Keep dust, mold, and pollen at bay by decluttering your home, checking pipes for leaks, and keeping the air clean. Check the foundation vents. A house with a crawl space has vents along the foundation walls. The vents provide air circulation that helps prevent excess moisture and mold growth, and they prevent critters from taking up residence underneath your home. The screens collect leaves and other debris from fall and winter. Spring is a great time to clean them out and check for damage. Clean the vents by hand or use a shop vac. Repair any damaged screens. Critters can get through even the smallest holes. And clean the grill. Your grill has most likely collected dust during fall and winter. Help your grill live a long life with some simple tips. Whether you have charcoal or gas grills, keep them clean. Prep your garden. Can't have a successful garden without good soil. Check this post for further details on how to prepare your soil to help you grow a lush garden. Test smoke alarms and CO detectors and change out batteries as needed. It's cheap, it only takes a few minutes, and you can save your family's life. Then clean your outdoor furniture. Outdoor entertaining season is just around the corner. Again, check this post for links to some more details and tips on cleaning your outside furniture, whether they be plastic or canvas. Thank you for joining us for Handling Change from the Box Drop Mattress Studios. Join us here each week at 7:30 a.m. as we give you the tools to handle the changes in your life. Visit us at handlingchange.info, follow us at Talking Change for You, and of course, you can contact us directly at handlechange@gmail.com. For Handling Change, I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and you might have picked up on the fact that I've recently moved and was taking the time to purge the clutter and freshen up some of the furniture and decor. And there is no better item to freshen up than your bed. That's right, your bed is the most important piece of furniture you have. After all, you spend more than a third of your life on it. I checked out the huge, once family-owned stores with tens of thousands of square feet of showroom and warehouses and movie theaters and food courts and shows and the overhead that goes with them. But then I discovered a true family-owned shop. John Rosenfeld and his son have a small showroom and warehouse right in in Metro West, 50 Main Street, Ashland. John and his family are actually there in person. They do keep hours, but will meet you by appointment. That's right. John will meet you when it's convenient for you. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own and a power base that moved the head and feet, but then I met John and checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com and ended up with a better mattress and power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Box Drop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts and buys directly from the manufacturer with low overhead and just family employees, passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9309. That's 508-579-9309. And find John on Facebook at Box Drop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com.
To join the conversation, call 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Now, here's your host, Joe Mangiacotti.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the second hour, the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN, our affiliates, live streaming on the TuneIn app. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000 as we broadcast from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios in Westboro. You can also text us at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Dr. Larry Fedor online with us. He joins us usually the third Saturday of the month, as he is doing today. And, Doctor, I wanted to shift for a second because Russia, Putin in the news, great distraction for Joe Biden to try to have us focus on Russia, who, much like China, is laughing at us. And in an interview, again, we're pushing, 60 days without a press conference from the sitting president of the United States. We saw him campaign from his basement, and he's just metaphorically gone to the White House basement, i.e. Oval Office. Very structured, very controlled. Earlier when I started the show, I did acknowledge and talked about the stumble up the stairs to Air Force One, which in itself, look at 1975, right? Nixon did that. I mean, he never outlived that doctor, right? Was it Chevy Chase who portrayed him on Saturday Night Live? And forever on, Nixon was known as a clumsy oaf because of that one misstep on there. But I'm not as concerned.
You're talking about Ford, though, right?
I'm sorry. Did I say Nixon? I'm sorry, Ford. Yeah. Gerald Ford was portrayed as a an oaf, right? A clumsy oaf from Saturday Night's skit. So he would welcome any of this distraction. He sits down with Steffi Stephanopoulos there, and he asks him straight out, do you think he's a killer? He said, I don't know. Do you actually, can you play that, Russ? Do you have that Biden on in Putin invite?
I saw part of it, yeah.
Never mind. I thought I had the audio, but we don't.
China last night. I'm very proud of the Secretary of State.
Are you going to take Vladimir Putin up on his offer to talk live with you?
I'm sure we'll talk at some point.
So the point is, he called him a lie. He called him a murderer. Now, let's talk about a diplomatic faux pas to one head of state to do that. Now, first of all, right, there's a pretty good chance that Russia, as well as Iran and China, have a lot of information that they're sitting on, right? We know that the 33,000 emails of Hillary's was compromised. We know that China has a lot of information on Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and to say something like that about another head of state, whether it's true or not, is, and he's a former KGB agent. I mean, isn't that by definition a murderer, or at least an assassin? The fact, though, right? I like the fact that Putin did something that speaks very much to what the rest of the world understands is going on with Joe Biden. He says, I want to propose to President Biden to continue our discussion, but not on the condition that we do it basically live, right? As it's called, without delays and directly in an open, direct discussion. It seems that it would be interesting for the people of Russia and for the people of the United States. So what Putin is saying is, I want to debate Joe, but live, no delays, and it's just him and him. He has no handlers, right? No, just translators, right? So he knows that Biden has to be handled, that he can't, if he can't handle the very friendly American press unscripted, he certainly couldn't handle Putin by himself.
And he won't.
No, of course not. Yeah, he says, oh, no, the White House says, oh, he's very busy. No kidding. The president of the United States is busy? I mean, that's as good as well, it was windy. That's why he fell up the stairs. Putin's invitation seemed to amount to a challenge to Biden to a live televised debate following a day of diplomatic uproar that began with Biden said through Putin was a killer. In an interview with George Stephanopoulos, Russia recalled its ambassador to the United States in response to the remark. What do you read into that?
Well, first I'd like to comment that is slipping on the stairway to the airplane. That was not trivial.
No.
He 3 times he went down.
Yeah.
And he tried to brush it off, but that says to me that I could see once you weren't paying attention or you got distracted or something, but he really had those were pretty bad falls.
Mm-hmm.
And but to answer your question, I think that I guess your question kind of slipped by me now.
Well, one thing, just to add to it, because I had talked about at the beginning of the show in hour one, that a couple things, and remember he had broke his foot with the dog or something, so he did have a boot on it. So there are a couple things, but I agree with you. One little trip up, and then let me pay attention. But what I was also saying is, even before that, I've always wondered why whoever it is, the president of the United States, is expected or allowed to climb basically 3 flights of stairs outside with elements and so forth to get into Air Force One, and no Secret Service agent or a handy Marine that's at the foot of the stairs are 4 or 5 steps behind him. Because if you do what he did, I mean, he was very close. Thank God he was holding the railing. He was very close to what could have been an uncontrolled tumble. I mean, once you started, right, you're done. That's a steep incline. And that
falling all the way.
Exactly. And I always wondered, again, not because of Friday, not just, I've always wondered watching the president walk up those stairs saying they don't have anybody a few steps behind him just in case something was to happen. At least they're there to catch them and stop it. But I hope that they, correct that, because, what if it was the other way and he was coming down and stumbled? That would be more apt. At least when you're going up and you trip, you go forward into the stairs, right? If you trip and stumble going down, she's all over.
You could break something.
Oh, yeah, it would be a tough one. But remember when Trump walked down a slippery ramp at West Point, Doctor? That was a 4-day news cycle, and CNN had experts out of the wazoo about cognitive decline and it's what else? Oh, and how did he drink the water? It's just, please, yeah. So, go ahead.
That's obvious bias.
Well, the question or the topic or where I was going with this is, so we have the Putin saying, hey, let's have the debate with no handlers, no delay, right, live and everything. That's because he knows that he'll never do it and he can't do it. But calling a head of state of a country that we don't have the best relation, it doesn't matter. Even if we had great, I mean, even if it was, Britain, right? You're calling the president of another country a killer, and as much as that might be true, it's not the best diplomatic move in the world. And I guess my thought goes to, is he picking a fight with Russia so that we're not paying attention to China?
Well, it's hard to. I don't know the answer to that, but the other factor is that Russia is just as much afraid of China as we are.
Yeah.
Because they also are a contender for international hegemony, and if you started lining up the rivals or the enemies of China, you'd have to include India, you'd have to include Russia, and you start, you get some big players. And why he is trying to pick a fight or get into a negative relationship with Russia, I think you're properly asking the question, why do that right now? Because it certainly doesn't make any sense from a geopolitical point of view.
No.
And you might be right that this is their answer to the cozy relationship that the Bidens have with China. And the other thing, though, that is very, very troubling is, they went through a 16-minute excoriation of American recent American history and American ideas and so on from the Chinese in that meeting yesterday.
Yeah,
it was the same meeting that when the Trump team went in, they were very differential, and they were very polite and an entirely different persona that they presented.
Exactly.
So we've got real trouble, and if these guys don't, I don't see any way out of it, because even if something happened to Biden, either because of politics, impeachment, or whatever, or natural causes, then you've got Harris, and she doesn't even know as much as Biden, even though he's compromised. This whole thing is really quite upsetting.
Yeah.
I'm not very optimistic about any of this.
Yeah. Well, my stand for a long time has been on the situation with the Kamala Harris vice president thing. That I'm sorry, is fingerprints of Barack Obama on it. If you go back to the primaries, and Joe was losing, and he left New Hampshire because he was so far behind. He got the endorsement in Carolina. Phone calls were made that weekend, and Harris and Buttigieg and all these people dropped out because I think the word came from Obama. Joe's going to be it. We're placing him in there, knowing full well, we had the pandemic, so they could put him in the basement and do a virtual campaign and totally structure everything. And who does the interview with Joe Biden? Cardi B. I mean, don't even get me started on the stupidity of that. And then he, and I'm doing air quotes, selects Kamala Harris, the woman who during the debate called him a racist and a rapist. And he selects her, who is polling 0 among her own party. The woman who said she's not getting anywhere because of racism. Well, only your own party selects you, not the country. So you just said everybody in the Democratic Party is too racist to support you. So she gets put in there as VP, as if it was his pick, all knowing that at some point she will finish the Biden administration. All right. So that's my tantrum on that for a second. Now back to Putin or Russia as a general. I submit that the United States has more in common with Russia than China, certainly, than people want to admit. For one thing, I mean, Putin is very concerned with extreme, with terrorists and Muslims, fanatical Muslims who want to, destroy. He has the same issue going on over there, right? The energy situation. Look, Russia, in essence, is a very well-guarded gas station. And that's the other part of this is what is Biden going to do? Is he going to do the same things Trump is, or he's going to be so afraid to do anything or continue to do anything that Trump put in? Because all we see him do since he took office was reverse everything Trump did in executive orders because Trump did it. Right? No explanation, no justification, and look at what's going on at the border. And this is the thing that's killing me, Dr. Larry, is the White House is trying to say, every time they talk about it, they say, we inherited this border mess and we have to fix it. I think you got that 100% wrong. For the first time in a long time, things were working at the border. What Trump put into place, the wait outside of the country for your asylum hearings. He worked it with the three northern, the triangle nations there as to what was going on, got Mexico to agree to let other nationalities wait in Mexico for the hearing. Mexico put their military on the southern border. In other words, the wall was just about complete, and he literally stopped it with the supplies laying on the ground and contracts in place that we have to pay them anyway. Why not just let them finish out the contract? It's childish. It's like, what are you, in the fourth grade, Joe? Because Donald Trump did it, I got to stop everything. It's asinine in the biggest way. 508-871-7000. Dr. Larry, we got a caller who's been waiting on the line for patiently, so if we could go to that. Joe in Worcester. Thank you for holding on. Dr. Larry and myself online. How are you, sir?
Good. I don't agree with all of the President's policies, the current argument, but I'll tell you one thing. It's refreshing. Granted, it may not be diplomatic to see his characterization of Putin as a killer. Think of Putin's history. 16 years in the KGB. Think of what he did to his
Joe, I don't think anybody's denying he's a killer. I just said that a little while ago. He's a former KGB agent. Pretty much by definition, he's killed somebody. I mean, that's not news. It's not a surprise. Okay, that's like, yeah. What your point is? What he is. What I'm saying is, okay. So you're going to a national television, classify the head of another major country as a killer. What do you think is going to happen? And what is the reason for doing that? Is it to create what is going to be the fallout? I mean, he already pulled back his ambassador. You're in a heightened tension between the Soviet Union and the United States, and is this nothing than another distraction shell game going on?
I don't take it as a distraction. I take it as a true characterization of an evil man who has had years in the KGB, who's imprisoned his opposition, believe it returned to Russia, who
poisoned people too, Joe. We know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Again, none of that's news.
It's not a mischaracterization of Putin. It's a truthful, maybe direct way of characterizing him. But certainly, I have no love for Putin or his policies. I mean, my background, my ancestors came out of Poland. I mean, if any country was dominated by the former Soviet Union, it would be my ancestors. And quite frankly, that's why I have no
Joe, let's not forget that he annexed Crimea, right? He annexed Crimea during the Obama administration. And we did nothing. We sent them pillows.
And Russia was our ally during World War II. We sided with them to destroy Hitler and his policies and his evil dictatorship.
Yeah. You know what? And after World War II, right? What did Patton want to do? He wanted to keep going. He knew Russia was the problem then, and he knew now that Nazi Germany was put to rest here, and we were victorious there. You know, there were generals who said, "Our enemy, don't get sidetracked by the temporary alliance we had here, but we're going to have a real problem with Russia." But the reins were pulled in.
we live in a different world. We live in a world where China is armed with nuclear weapons. Russia has nuclear weapons. Great Britain, the United States. There are numerous countries in this world that have nuclear powers, and we know it's MAD, mutual assured destruction, where if anyone to utilize these weapons in any capacity would be a catastrophe.
And we also had North Korea acted up this week too. That didn't get a lot of attention. And I maintain that I don't think China would have walked into the Alaska summits with the attitude and the browbeating that they issued the United States if this was any other administration. Our issues with Russia has always been there and is always there. However, there is a way to diplomatically coexist with these countries. I'm just saying, why now? Why at this point is Joe Biden, coming out and calling on national TV? What is to be gained by that? It's not news. It's not a surprise. We also know, we've got the sheik there who ordered the killing of a journalist. What are we doing about that? What are we doing about that?
I mean, for years we've been siding with Saudi Arabia, the primary, well, not the only, but certainly has extensive petroleum reserves in their country, and because of that, successive administrations have been cozy.
Okay,
with them.
Joe, let me get Dr. Larry in to weigh in on some of this discussion. Dr. Larry, how are you assessing this?
Well, I think that there's got to be some other reason for. I agree with you that there's some other reason why they're going after Russia right now, and I think the most likely possibility is that they want to continue the narrative that Trump, when they were going against Trump as a potential spy for Russia, that they want to continue that narrative that there's something that they really are the chief problem that we have in the country, and that does in fact they're attempting anyway to distract our attention from China because of all the compromising evidence against the Biden in China. So I think your speculation there is certainly feasible and very likely it does have it's pretty close to the truth. I think it's a dead issue though. They're trying to beat a dead horse because the whole thing with Trump fell on his face twice. But I really think that in the minds of these extreme leftists that's still anything that's against Trump and against the current the Trump Republican Party is worth pursuing.
Yeah,
especially if it diverts attention from China.
Yeah, look, Joe, thank you for the call. Appreciate it, and thanks for listening.
Take care.
Dr. Larry, we're against the clock here, so tell people where, of course, we can find you, drlarryonline.com, and we can catch you still doing the Resistance show with Tom Donaldson.
Yeah, Wednesday nights on the Bachelor News Radio Network, which the easiest way to get to it, I think, is by the telephone, which you go to the website, the Bachelor News Radio Network.com. And also, I've suspended my column, more or less, but there's still a lot of information on the website.
Yeah. So check that out, folks. It's drlarryonline.com. The link is actually on our Facebook, the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Thank you, Doctor, very much. Until next month, we'll chat in between. All right, folks, that wraps up the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. You have a great day.
WACE